With that, will you please silence or shut off your cell phones and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Melody, additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes. I have the Oregon Shipping Group presentation, National Center for Electronics Recycling, District 3 Road Advisory, dump truck purchases, and IGA number 5768.
Okay, board, is there any other additions or deletions?
Did we want to talk about the liaisons today or not?
Yes, I think it'd be very appropriate in work session to add a liaison update. We mentioned that at our last one. Is it on there? Yep, the liaison assignments under other business.
Yep.
Okay, so with that, we'll get right into our agenda. Caitlin, you're first up with Justice Reinvestment Grant.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
For the record, my name is Caitlin Roberts. I'm the Office Assistant at the District Attorney's Office. This morning I come before you with a budget amendment to the Supplemental Justice Reinvestment Grant. In July of 2017, the District Attorney's Office was awarded a grant of $210,000 from the Oregon Criminal Justice Commission. This grant was meant to support a position, a deputy district attorney position, to support the treatment program that partners with community corrections for the treatment court that meets every other Friday of the month in the morning. So that DDA, the deputy district attorney position, didn't get filled until August of 2018. So that means there's money left over. We talked with the Criminal Justice Commission about using that funds to support other items related to that position, such as training and office supplies. But I guess when the money came out, it was solely designated for positions. So it can't be used to support other expenses. So I'm coming before you for a reduction in that grant budget of $210,000, reducing it to $137,000 and a little bit more. We have ran the numbers and already talked with the Criminal Justice Commission. The funds that aren't used in Lake County are going back into a pot of money at the state to be then reallocated to the other counties that have this supplemental grant as well.
So question where it took a while to get through the hiring process and everything, is there any way these funds could be kept and extend the time frame past December of 2019?
No, we asked that question as well.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah, unfortunately, the hard deadline is December of 2019 for these funds. We cannot use them past that.
Okay, that's unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And work sessions, I know this is your guys' first work session, to make the decisions the following day. So take information in, ask any questions, and then tomorrow at a regular board meeting, we'll take action.
Is there any goal to, or any idea in mind to reapply for the same grant to extend it out?
There is. So from my understanding and talking with Mr. Greer, the Director of Community Corrections, the supplemental grant money is within the governor's recommended budget, but they're in the middle, well, partway through the legislative session. So we aren't going to know until about May or June if those funds will be available. Mr. Greer advises me that the solicitation would likely come out in like the spring, like May or June, if it looks like those funds are going to be available after July 1st.
And Ann, on the budget side, is there anything will we have to do anything on the budget side, or?
No, it'll just impact what we budget for 1920.
Okay.
But no.
Any further questions?
That was the question I had.
Thank you, Caitlin. Appreciate it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Mr. Hawk and others. We'll start off with the National Center for Electronic Recycling.
Morning.
Good morning.
So, National Center for Electronics Recycling, this includes, similar to what we did at the landfill with the paint care, to have available reception for free paint. This will allow us to have an avenue to get rid of the portable computers, TV monitors, keyboards, and things of that nature, electronic devices. This organization that we coordinated with and for getting rid of these items. I can't say, I guess I'm slowing down here because I was trying to come up with a dollar. I can't tell you what the fiscal impact is gonna be. It will be a positive fiscal impact, but we don't really know because we don't have any historical data on the amounts or the total pounds or tons that have ever left. So, that's how we will get paid for this. But the bigger picture or the bigger benefit here is that there won't be a cost to any of it. This organization is gonna supply us with a storage trailer. We're only gonna have to move these items once. We'll be able to store them within our DEQ kind of responsibilities and guidelines. These electronic devices can't be stored out in the open, they can't get wet. There's a lot of different requirements, but ultimately this is good for the public. They'll have an avenue to bring these things to us. It will eliminate the try, I guess I should say, to hide this in garbage, because there's a lot of people that do that and they don't need to. We can't bury these in our landfill. It's against our permit, it's against the law. So this gives us a good way to get rid of them and potentially have some positive come back to us for it. So.
Well, I want to compliment you and your staff for working on this. Not only is it turning around or that while revenue will be maybe minimal, helps keep us in compliance with recycling.
Yep.
It'll be, in my opinion, a safer way of things to be taken care of out there, and a great service to the community and at no cost. There will be some sort of revenue come forward. So me and you met one-on-one with this, probably the other commissioners did too, but you and your staff, thank you for working on this. It's just one more cog in the wheel of the landfill getting where it needs to be.
Yeah, this is very good for the public, and I appreciate you bringing that up, because Christie spent just as much time on organizing this, if not more than what I have. So these things take a lot of time to find these entities, and there's really only 3 organizations in the state that do this off of their own state funds and what they can get reimbursed for. So to find an outfit that will supply us with the storage unit for one, because that's a pretty big expense right off the front, off the bat. We only have to move these things once.
Yeah.
And to give you just a little bit of perspective on how much we've received since we started, because we actually started receiving them and keeping them in that container out there since October when we started the management, or I should say the operation. That container's stuffed completely full in 3 months. So it is a good thing to have. I mean, I don't know if everybody knew that and they all went out and bought TVs at once, but that storage unit is completely stuffed full of just what we're supposed to keep, so.
So Kevin, are you charging the people to bring that in or not?
No charge.
And so are we advertising there's no charge on electronics anywhere?
At the notice at the scale house itself.
Yeah, and that has to be specific to certain electronics because people
There's a list, yeah. When they bring this trailer to us, they're gonna give us all the, they call them Gaylord boxes. They're 4x4 cardboard hard shell containers that we sort into. They're gonna give us the pallets. They're gonna give us a pallet jack for inside the trailer. And the trailer, the only thing we're gonna have to do is build steps to get up into it. And then when we have it stuffed full, we're gonna call and they're gonna bring us another one. So this is good. And they'll bring signage that says this is what we can receive and this is what we can't. And previously it was a concern because there was appliances that were, appliances, not electronics, being able to be dropped off. And so we'll clean that up and the public will be aware as time goes on.
So like I go out to the dump and I have garbage and an electronics device. Do I take the electronics device to the deal so that I don't get charged for it?
You're gonna be given an option at that time to take the TV or whatever appliance, or I should say electronic device off and then reweigh. If you decide to do that, you're to the good. If you say weigh me, then that's what we're gonna do.
As an incentive though.
Yeah, well, it's not really incentive. I mean, this is free. This is free
Yeah.
to the public. So,
Gotcha.
So I think as the public is much more aware, they know that they go over and they get rid of their free device first and go through the skills. If they opt to go through the skills, they'll have to come back through to get a true weight.
yeah, they're given that opportunity as soon as they tell us that there's an electronic device. Problem is, to be perfectly honest, that a lot of people, it's garbage to them. They can heap 10 different things in the back of the truck and they don't care to sort them. We, by law, have to sort them, so we're going to train over time the public to recognize that. We ask them questions: do you have metal, do you have rubber, do you have an electronic device, do you have an appliance, all those things when they come across the scale. And a lot of them have been receptive to that up to this point. I was wanting to give you some kind of financial gain off of this, but I don't know how to summarize it until we get some kind of.
Because you haven't even shipped that container yet, so you don't even.
No, and as soon as this gets signed, I'm gonna send it back. Carson Max is the fellow's name that does this, and then he's gonna ship us that container and we can start sorting, because none of this stuff in the container's been sorted yet. We have to do that, and then as we receive new, we'll sort at that time. We won't spend any more money on it than we have to.
Be less man hours to get the product out.
Cost savings really all the way around, some of which we won't be able to put our finger on, but it'll be cost savings. It does say in here, I think it's 8 cents a pound for certain items and 4 cents. for others.
Yeah, I did see
I
that.
was trying to find it here as I was talking, but.
Yeah, it's- Now, in your communication with MRM, they started off by saying that if you work with MRM as a collection site, the transportation of the collection, e-waste, and recycling service would be provided by Universal Recycling Technologies in Clackamas. What's the actual charge for the transportation and the disposal of this?
It's not disclosed, and the other problem with MRM is they want to charge us $2,000 a year for a container, and we're not gonna do that. I can't pinpoint down what the incidental costs are through them.
Gotcha.
Through all of our negotiations, I think we even had maybe 2 different conference calls trying to get all this nailed and hashed out and different things, and MRM goes through another company, and some of those things aren't disclosed, and we don't need a surprise on getting rid of free electronics, so this first way to do it is the way to do it.
In terms of just the different devices and the definitions of devices that are covered, CEDs, phones, motherboards, or computer parts, is that all kind of included? Because it states computers, states televisions, desktop computers, and portable computers, but.
The phone part I have a question on, because there's somewhere in here that talks about 4-inch diagonal screen. So the specifics of receiving somebody's smartphone, I would guess we're gonna have to measure it. But that's the only thing of what you mentioned that I'm not completely sure of.
Okay.
I think it says 4-inch, the screen has to be measured 4-inch on a diagonal, so.
But like somebody's desk phone, for instance, in their office or something, that they just wanted to get rid of, is technically an electronic device, but does it classify as that under these definitions? I was just trying to figure out what exactly it all entailed.
Well, that's not specifically listed there.
It's not specifically listed, no.
But I can get clarification on it.
But that's fine, no worries. Just curious.
Okay, any other questions on that? We'll take action tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, next item is District 3 Road Advisory recommendation for us to appoint tomorrow. Kevin, actually, the member Jesse Laird's who you're bringing forward actually has non-voting member sat through last year's road advisory.
Yeah, Mr. Cahill gave his, I guess, resignation of sorts to ask to have that position on the road advisory board.
And that's for, I can't remember which district, but it takes in the Warner Valley and
District
Adel.
3 is all Warner
District
Valley,
3.
and Flushing, Adel, and so forth.
I guess if I'd read, I'd seen District 3.
And he recommended Jesse, and as Commissioner Warner said, he sat through last year's meeting and was, to my recollection, good for him to understand the facts and the true cost of doing business. So he was even more intrigued after that and asked that I move forward with this. So I think he'll be a good member. We've already talked about some few things, and I think his links in that community over there will be good communication-wise for what we're doing with the road department and his representation of that.
Very good. Potential dump truck purchase for tomorrow, 3 dump trucks. Go ahead, Joe.
So I sent 3, I think we actually sent 5. The last 2 is a Mack and a Kenworth. It was mostly just for representing the homework, or some of the homework that we've done. In comparison, these 3 that I sent you, they're low mileage. 2 of them were ex-municipal vehicles, so there's service records available for them, which sometimes is problematic when you're looking for used equipment. The other things that we need to try to find as well as we can and as in good a condition as we can are certain specifications, the rear end axle ratios, transmissions. You know, our trucks are not long haul over the road trucks, so we need certain things. And we also need the availability of parts to fix them when they go broke. So there's nothing, these trucks are all very common for that. Specifically, with these trucks as well being low mileage and pre-emission. So between 2008 and 2012, some 2013 trucks have a lot of extra expense in particulate filters because of the emissions control and so forth. Newer than that, 2013 and newer, is just something that I'm not sure that we need to entertain looking at because it's too much expense. So when we can look at 2 or potentially 3 trucks for the price of 1 and cut some of those known problems, emission control problems and maintenance expense of those particulate filters, that's what we're trying to do here. Is there any questions you have specifically about these?
I don't. My question we've already talked about is, and you have it down here, is the exception rule that we can use to make this decision tomorrow. That was my only concern. Appreciate you looking at getting more efficient and keeping the cost down, Kevin.
So Kevin, we're gonna have extra cost to paint them, right?
I don't know that we are gonna be concerned about paint or that we need to be. I'm certainly not. We have other trucks out there that have been bought in the past that are not red. In today's, I guess, fiscal climate, that's not a priority for me. It'll have a Lake County sticker on and it'll be representative of us, but if it needs to be red, I guess we can talk about that.
Well,
It doesn't for me.
I have an opinion. You know what those are worth. Red's the wrong color. If you decide to paint them, make them white.
So, yeah,
Red fades out and becomes an issue in a big hurry.
yeah, I'm not concerned about painting them. I mean, we can, that's one more trouble with finding used equipment is locating what you want. But there's other vehicles out there. The distributor we just bought's white. There's another over the road, and there's another Kenworth out there that's purple. So it's not something I'm gonna be concerned with. If we were buying new, then that'd be different, but I don't know that we need to be spending the money on new stuff. I'm not sure that the new stuff's even worth it.
Any other questions on the?
Just when you go to take a look at these trucks, I'm correct in that And assuming that you are able to actually even talk this price down if you find
Yeah, I
issues
mean,
with the
we-
truck and negotiate the price on site.
Yeah, we've done that before. Both Ryan Peterson and Josh Renfro went and looked at the Kenworth chassis. Trying to think, one of these trucks here is from Diesel Depot in Aberdeen. We already purchased our distributor chassis from that organization, and so we were able to do that, what you're describing at that time.
Sure.
It's more cost savings when we
Yeah.
can do that.
I just thought I'd clarify that
But
you have a little bit of you have that ability to do that.
And I guess the reason I'm here today showing you these trucks and explaining the research that we've done is I need the authority, if you will, to go purchase them upon inspection, or
Exactly.
reserve them anyway upon inspection. We're not gonna buy them just over the phone, we need to go look at them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would
Thank you.
assume tomorrow the motion will be almost exactly that, upon review and inspection and negotiation.
And in the, in the subsections of that rule exemption, I specifically typed out, so if you have any concerns, let me know.
Okay.
Those are all my topics. If I can have 5 or 10 minutes, I was hoping to give a department update.
Okay.
Sure.
Recently here, just before their shutdown, we received our final reimbursement for Dog Lake Lane Rehabilitation Project. And I wanted to just go through some of the history of this, point out some accolades of some employees who were instrumental in doing it. So the initial scope of this job, the approved budget for it was $4.492 million. That was the approved budget for this project. The initial scope of it was pipe replacement, gaving, wall construction, signs. There was some contract guide rail install in there. There was brushing, and then the road removal itself and repaving, as well as rock crushing contracts for the new ag base. The county would provide the match through working kind, and the county would haul the millings and provide the rock crushing contracts for the material. The original plans for this reclamation were 3 miles of reconstruction. It was originally priced out, if you will, for 3 miles of reconstruction on a 4.9 mile road, and then 1.9 miles to overlay the entire thing. So this project was completed over the course of 2 construction seasons to allow, it started in the fall of 2016, putting some pipes in, and then we went into the actual reclaim, the reconstruction in April of 2017. So we did it over the course of 2 years just to allow for man hours in other areas of the county. We still need to crack seal and chip seal and do all those general maintenance things, that ditch cleaning that we do everywhere. Throughout the project, we recognized a few areas that could be improved. First being that there were no plans originally for any full depth base repair. And as the road got tore out, there was old widenings that the Forest Service had done that were not standard. They were not structurally sufficient enough to hold what we were gonna put on. So we were able to acquire, through talking with the engineer and the project manager for Western Federal Lands, $362,000 in contingency added on to that budget number. And that paid for these base repairs. Base repairs had to be lined, and there were specifications that we followed for depth and material and compactability, non-movement, and also lined with geotextile. And in addition to that, we put under drain. There's about 1.5 miles of under drain on that road to drain some sections of roadway that just naturally lay wet certain times of the year. There were initial plans on this roadway to have some guide rail installed as well, and we were able to work with the engineer and the project manager on Western Federal Lands to improve and standardize the cross slopes. So the lanes have 2% cross slope finished from the center out to the shoulder. Shoulders have 4%. And there's at least 7 feet of what we call clear zone. And all these things went together in the design world to eliminate the cost of that guide rail, which would have been somewhere around $700,000. We eliminated that, and we have, again, 2% cross slope, 4% maximum super elevations, and we were able to eliminate all that cost and put it back onto the roadway. So we were able to utilize those funds for the additional 1.9 miles to be reconstructed totally. So the whole entire job, 4.9 miles, has 10 inches of aggregate base. They came out with their proctors and did density tests of that, and we're all above 100% on their tests. In fact, 2 of the sites, they couldn't get their probe into the roadway, so it's good constructability wise. We also utilize those extra funds to add 7,500 linear feet of road, which is just shy of 1.5 miles. From the start of the project, where that first cattle guard is on Dog Lake Road, but then we paved to Andy Hill, so we were able to use that cost savings on the project within that original budget. And the decision committee for the flap allowed us to do that, since we were able to not basically ask for more money. We were doing it with the cost savings of us doing the work. These are all good, very good things, both for the public, the county, and our road department people. I mean, our road department people did an excellent job. Everybody played their role. It was all very successful. This project turned out very well, and we came in $12,000 over our budget. So our match ended up being $12,000 more on a $5.2 million project, which is pretty good. So we extended from an original 3-mile road construction to 7 miles of roadway leading to the forest. We installed the hot mix. It was extensively tested both by myself. We purchased electric impedance gauge, check densities, and set up a roller pattern so that we could install the hot mix at maximum optimal density. And then we also had Proctor come out and check nuclear tests. They were all between 92 and 96% within the ODOT specs, and that's how this whole project followed. We utilized, just to talk about some extra cost savings on this job, we utilized the old road bed aggregate that was removed. We saved it, and we installed all the shoulders with that material. So if you take the math on what we kept and what we didn't have rock crushing for, you're just shy of about 5,000 tons and 70 grand. We saved by utilizing the old road bed aggregate for on the shoulder. Otherwise, we'd have that expense in the contract. One other cost savings I want to talk about just real quick is, find it here. So throughout this process, we were able to do a lot of our survey and our layout ourselves. It's one of the reasons why I brought Mark. This spring, I was on crutches, so my ability to lay things out and survey were limited. And Mr. Wells did the majority of this himself, so he needs to be recognized for that. The cost savings of what was planned and budgeted to pay the engineer and what we actually paid them because of some of the avenues in which we could do the work ourselves, both survey and layout, was another $160,000 that also went onto the road. So just wanted to point some of these cost savings measures out so you guys know what we're doing out there. Lastly, the recycled asphalt product that we milled off, we hauled it to the shop and then negotiated with Rocky Mountain Construction for a trade value on that material. And we traded that recycled asphalt product for initially 3,600 tons of chip rock, which at the current rates of what we were paying was about $54,000. So we traded a material that we really have no constructability reasons for, and they did, for material that we were able to chip the majority of our last year's chip with at no dollars. And then there's also, we we have an agreement here in the spring, once they can get back up on the hill and make material for another trade of that same value, they want the same amount of wrap, which works out to be, just in layman's terms, three truckloads to two. They take 3 truckloads of wrap, we get 2 loads of chip rock. And that's delivered to us, so no hauling expenses in a lot of that material, they haul it to us. So, wanted to just share some of those things because the Dog Lake rehab in itself was good for the community, good for the public, good for the road department, but the trickle down and incidentals from that was even more so. So, you know.
So, thank you very much, Kevin. You're pretty modest. There's a lot of efficiency things that you mentioned there that just incredible. I want to talk about Mr. Wells getting back there. Prior to your time, when I was without a road master, relied on him and other employees out there. Would like to compliment you, Mark.
Thank you.
What you do. I know your pride in what you do, your expertise, and that whenever the product is done, when you get done with it, it's done right. And if it takes extra hours, you're there to do that. And I've always said, if you surround yourself with good people, your job's much easier. The compliment that your supervisor gave you, it didn't go on deaf ears. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Kevin, thank you, and the rest of the crew. There's a lot more than just Mark. The whole crew stepped up.
The whole crew did an excellent job on this, right down to our flaggers, our office manager. She actually managed the pilot cars operation, so that was one thing that Mark and I didn't have to worry about. So everybody played their role in this project, and it led to be very efficient. I mean, for us to do a $5.2 or $5.3 million job right here in our backyard and come in within $12,000 of that, in addition to all this extra, you know, that's good. Very good.
Well, and grants aren't free. The match was quite a bit, but where we were able to do the work, we came out way ahead. It goes back further than 2016,
Sure.
the start of it. It's been 5 years in the works. I'm trying to remember back when we applied for the grant. So
There's a lot of time and meetings and discussion invested in these grant projects, but ultimately wanted to come to you guys, you new commissioners, and maybe don't have some of the history like Commissioner Winters does on this project or the constructability of it, but they are good, they're positive, and they turn out that way if we manage them that way.
thank you
I
very
want to
much.
say something too. It's guys like you and your crew that are creative and that makes the county better. And like Brad says, it doesn't go on deaf ears. It also has a trickle-down effect on all the employees of the county, not just the road department. And if we can all take pride in our work, all be creative, this county will be rock stars for years to come. And I want to thank you for stepping up, Mark. And I know I give you a lot of crap, but you know I love you.
I'm used to it.
But Kevin, you know, you're a humble man, and what you did, and trading rock and doing all this, that's big stuff for us. So big stuff for the whole county. And so we all can learn a lot as county employees of being creative and stepping up and going the extra mile like Mark did. And you know, it makes us a better community. So thank you guys, all of you guys. So
Thank you, Kevin.
Okay,
Thank you, Mark.
thanks for the time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. So moving on down the agenda, next is Mr. Berman, courthouse backup generator award.
Your mom's.
For discussion today.
Jake, sit down.
Tomorrow.
No, they just mentioned, I mean, you weren't even here. Thank you.
see you, Mark.
Good job, Mark.
Robert.
Bird, Brandon.
You would just be surprised.
Okay.
Everybody leaves when they
he gets
I
up.
don't know, who wants to hear what I have to say. It's that guy.
All right, Mr. Berman, go right ahead.
Good morning, gentlemen. As you, as Commissioner Winters knows, this thing that we're working on is something that's been in the works for 3-4 years. We've been trying to kind of figure everything out, how to get to a backup generator for the courthouse, because when the power goes out, we can have issues around here with the jail and, you know, the function. So, I went out, well, Brad and I, we started really getting contractors back last spring, I believe. Yeah, last spring. And so we went out, things didn't work out for us, so we come back into a new year, or after the fiscal year, we started over. And I put an RFP together for a backup generator for the courthouse. We went out and our RFP, well, we didn't get no hits on our RFP. We think the contractors kind of calling in Lake County, you know, which is going. So, that being said, after we did the RFP, then we did our due diligence of our time frame of putting it out to the public. Then under our local contract rules, I can pretty much pick whoever I want, or I can go out and solicitate a bid, just a bid. I don't even have to go out for RFP. So I did. I went to our local electrician, and we kind of downsized the project a little bit. Some of the stuff that we're going to be doing is we'll be doing it in-house. My guys will be doing part of it, you know, setting up the pad for it and doing that sort of stuff to make it work. So the electrician will come in and hook up the backup generator to the courthouse. So we got the, so what I'm here for is to award the bid to High Desert Electric for $66,539.
So a little discussion, Dave. We'll take action tomorrow, hopefully, on this. Backup generator has been on borrowed time for years here. As Mr. Albertson knows, Commissioner Albertson, when the power goes down, our jail has no power, and that's 24/7, 365 days a year. That's very important, and on top of that is our IT, the contract manager. When it comes to our computers, our backup batteries are maybe 2 hours if we're lucky. And so we run into a lot of things, and we've been on borrowed time. Just a couple of years ago, we were out for an extended amount of time. We even worked with DOC to move some inmates. And so this will cover that unforeseen power outage. You know, worst case scenario, the buzzword today is the Cascadia effect. If that happened and we were without power, we could still operate right here in an emergency way. We have the search and rescue, and we have the road department also, but it would give some redundancy. So we've been nervous, Dave and I have been nervous with past board of commissioners wanting to get this done for quite some time. And it's just, right now, the economy's pretty good, and get people to bid on things in this remote area is a tough thing, and get them to show up, so. A little bit of history and a little bit of.
I was in the jail
Yes, you
when
were.
we went out of power, and of course I was working graveyard shift, and so when it's pitch black in the jail and you got inmates, and it's not a good feeling at all. And is that so?
Yeah, to use your speaker a little bit, sir.
Anyways, it's not a good feeling, sorry, to be a CO at the jail and you're watching inmates in the pitch black.
Yeah. And
so, another thing, you kind of brought it up, the Cascadia effect, and I think the courthouse it's supposed to be for that, like the hub, right? I guess we need to talk to Daniel about that, but.
For emergency, set up for emergency, for emergency plan and everything, it could be one of the places. Right now, I believe we're sort of set up for the road department to be that, because there's fuel and there's other things out there, and they have the backup generator. But Cascadia effect or flood or whatever, we never do know while one would go down.
And so Dave, on the dual fuel, is it diesel and propane powered? Is it propane powered?
We'll propane fuel it, that if we ever get natural gas, it'll be dualed into, we'll be able to hook into natural gas with the
So how big of tanks are you gonna put in place for the generator?
probably 1,000 gallons.
So I guess you've probably already talked to Staub about the distance that those have to be away from the building.
Yeah, I have it wrote down, yes, I have the actual plans to show what the distance is from the generator. And it's not really that far, I mean, it's 15 feet probably.
I think it's like 25 feet,
Uh,
but they can make exceptions. And the only reason I'm saying that is because that's what I did, so. And it's good to have propane, because you don't have to worry about the fuel going bad.
Well, we talked about, when we first started, we talked about just hooking into our diesel line for a boiler. But down the road, that's possible, it might have to come out of the ground and we'd have to redo it all anyway. So we decided we talked with propane and if we ever get natural gas, we'll be able to hook right into natural gas.
Plus the emissions right here in middle of town. Propane's emissions gonna be much better smelling than diesel.
Okay.
So I'm just looking at to award the bid and then the contract, sign the contract and get moving on it. So we need to get it done as soon.
You and I actually talked yesterday a little bit about this, and you actually put this out for bid quite a while ago,
Yes.
at a lower price, and as you kind of realized how much it was going to cost, but you had it budgeted. You have the money budgeted a lot higher than this actually, and it finally kind of came in at this price, and this is actually a really good deal for us,
Right.
the best you've seen. So-
Like I said, though, when I did go out for bid, we expected a higher to come in because
Gotcha.
the scope of the work was larger as far as labor of getting the pads and the fences and the propane and all that. What I'd done to take that off was with the electrician, to have him hit the electrical side of things, and we did the labor side.
And use
We-
our own labor.
We went out 7 months, 8 months ago, we had a gentleman come in and scope the whole work for us, gave us the whole plan of it, and it just come down to it didn't end up working out at that time, so.
Well, actually, we awarded
Right.
the bid, we gave the bid, and the guy didn't sign the contract. We signed it, he didn't sign it, and we went back, Dave went back, and we tried every avenue. So, I guess not to speak for you,
No,
but taking our original plans and formatting them to today's world, utilizing our staff with their expertise on the cement, the fence work and that type of things to be able to actually probably come in under budget by quite a bit, which is a good thing.
Yeah, yeah. So, I was all, just wanted to clarify how diligent you were in the whole process. Thank you.
I'm excited, I'm ready. We'll make the motion tomorrow, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Crumrine, budget, getting to be that budget time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
In your packet is both a draft budget calendar and then also information from the Oregon Department of Revenue about local budgeting in Oregon. I think with 2 new commissioners, there's some good information there about why and how we do budget. And really the most important part is public notification and involving the public in what we do with our budget. So the primary role of the budget officer is to compile the information under the direction of the commissioners and then do the proper notifications to the public, advertising of what we've done and allow for those hearing times. So I have acted as the budget officer for several years. I'm willing to do it again, but it is under your discretion of who to appoint. And I also understand well the difference between acting as an elected official or as your appointee in that role.
So, and I realize that you're related with work, is that something you can continue to handle, or are you maxed out?
Oh no, we are going to get a railroad grant and I will be able to get that off my desk, and the budget was what I like to do, so.
So really, tomorrow we'll take action on appointing the budget officer and approving the budget calendar, which starts timeframes and everything. Have both of you been able to look at your planners and make sure this all works? So I don't see we will have any surprises tomorrow, Ann.
Okay, let me highlight just a few things. When we do that February 19th date, reviewing assumptions and the methodology for budget preparations, that is the meeting where you give me direction on a few key aspects of the general fund budget, which can affect some other things. They are general goals. We're not supposed to talk a lot about specifics, so it's a general goal for that whole budget build process. But very valuable input for me in this setting to start all of that. Again, the other two key dates are May 6th and the May 8th. That's when we are proposing to actually have the budget committee meetings. They are in this space right here, and that is a Monday and a Wednesday this year. So we like to have that day in between to make all the changes and get the minutes prepared and gather more information if need be at that point in time too. So those are really kind of, from your standpoint, significant dates. Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you very
you,
much.
appreciate it.
Mr. Greer, we have IGA number 5768. Thank you, Ann.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You said no.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Mark.
May I remind you, you used to be his supervisor, now he is your supervisor.
It's too serious this morning. I had to light it up a little bit.
Awkward moment.
So before you, is an intergovernmental agreement, number 5768, between Lake County, New England Department of Corrections, specifically Lake County Community Justice. Currently, we have a computer system that we utilize to track our clients in. The prison has the same kind of system. Mr. Brown has the same kind of system out at his shop. It's outdated. Version 1 is back, I believe, in 1992, and they've kind of pieced it together and bought more stuff to make it bigger, smarter, and more memory retention. So we're probably at version 1 million right now. However, sometime along the way, the last 6 years, they created an internet-based program as well that we can utilize for tracking our offenders. The catch is, we have to do double tracking because all the reports are run and everything's counted in the outdated system, not on the internet-based system. So the two aren't talking together. So the Oregon Department of Corrections and their AT shop based in Salem is requesting the Community Corrections Help Fund foot the bill for this, they call it an API, it's an application program interface, to help fund that, so the two start talking together. So we don't have to do double entries, because currently my staff, if you go on the new system, do any documentation, you create some action plans, some reminders on a sheet of paper, and they're printed out. But then you have to go in the old system and double entry, which you just put in. If you just use the old system, there's a lot of handwriting involved for those action plans and reminders. So statewide, we're just trying to speed up the process and eliminate double entries. It's 2018, it's time to, or 2019, so it's time to get our computers and our computer systems up to date. So the way this will happen is the Department of Corrections will invoice me for $431, and that's our share of the budget. That's our portion of, in the grand scheme of things, is a big pie. Lake County gets a small sliver. So the total cost is about $101,000 for this API. Our share is $431. Some counties are paying $10 grand, $9,500, and then it kind of trickles down to the smaller counties. So our share is $431, which I think is reasonable.
Yeah.
So
I have no questions, and I see you have marked, legal counsel's reviewed it for legal
Yeah.
content, so,
Legal counsel has reviewed it.
so tomorrow,
He was amazed that for $431, it was 13 pages.
oh, yeah,
So, and then just a bit of clarification, I know Ms. Roberts was before you guys this morning about the justice reinvestment. Just want to make sure you guys are aware that that's the supplemental grant under justice reinvestment. It has nothing to do, it's tied to my justice reinvestment grant for drug court, but that's the supplemental grant. So there are two separate grants. Two separate grants. Supplemental pays for Paul's position upstairs, the deputy district attorney's justice reinvestment pays for our drug court. Two separate grants, two separate formulas, and two separate pots of money.
so our question, and it's appropriate, Caitlin had talked to you, but is what's the odds of that supplemental grant, money being there and being able to apply again, to keep that position going?
In the governor's recommended budget, the money's there. So it's just a matter of us applying for it and being awarded it. So I know Caitlin and I have talked, and we're gonna reapply for it. It's just a matter of
Get through the
criminal justice
legislation.
commission awarding it to us or not. Since we've had it and we've been able to utilize it, although we turned some monies back, at no fault to our own, and the criminal justice commission is aware of that, because I attended the meeting in December and explained why we were turning money back. I think we stand a pretty good chance, because we've been able to make it work and we've been successful.
Have you had the opportunity to talk with Paul, which is in that role right now, of what you're looking at? And
I haven't, I know this has been coming ahead in about the last 2 weeks, so I've been traveling for meetings and out, so.
I'd recommend if you get a chance, visit with Paul a little bit, because he's in that grant funded position, and let him know that we're all in support of looking at the grant.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know I received an email from Christy Robertson from the hospital.
Yeah.
And again, that, just for clarification, that's the supplemental grant that Paul's funded under. I know in the email it mentioned just justice reinvestment, but those are two separate animals, so.
Gotcha.
Just so we remember. So I plan on attending that meeting and speaking on behalf of treatment court. But the meeting is scheduled for February 2nd at 10 a.m. at the hospital. So.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Jake. Appreciate it. Thank you. So, we have options here. We can take a 7-minute break until 10, and then we have a presentation at 10, and then finish our agenda after that. And that's what I would recommend for us to do, if you guys are acceptable to that.
Sure, yeah, we can do
All right.
a short break.
Let's take a break for about 7 minutes, come back at 10 o'clock.